Okay, so we're on video 5 of the Bulldog project. Alright, that little one there. So what we're going to do now is obviously use soft scissors and cut just this section out. Let me get to it. All done! Okay, so there we go. And as you can see, I have literally just cut that section out. So the next step would be to fit this onto the actual blade using the edge to line it up. Alright, and then using just a dab of our glue stick, just a tad, on the one side, we're going to just stick it in place. But we don't want to stick it there permanently, we just want something to hold it in place. So let me do that. Done. So mine is stuck on there. You can see that it is not done perfectly, not permanently. Okay, so one thing is I don't want to go soak this in water again to get rid of it. So all I'm going to do now is take trusty old scribe, a steel ruler, well, any type of ruler, and I'm going to line this lot up, and I'm going to scribe those lines in and get them in as deep as possible. Okay, and then obviously also that one there. Then you'll notice this little piece there, I'm just going to freehand that in, taking that measurement from that there is the same distance as between those notches, so I'm just going to scribe that onto my blade. So let me get cracking. My scribing has been done. So what I'm going to do now is just remove my piece of paper or my template. Now, like I mentioned in the previous videos, and you can actually see my scribe lines. Yep. Okay, so what I mentioned in a previous video is that this is only a single beveled knife or a chisel grind. So this is only going to be ground on this one side, like that. Okay, so if you want to go and make it more traditional knife out of this, you'll take your edge template, let's call it that, and you will then apply it to the other side. Yeah, so just do a reverse of this, and it's very difficult to try to do this through a camera lens. Right, and you'll just go and scribe it on that side again. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to do that. Okay, but now you need to first off decide, seeing that it's a chisel grind, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a left-handed knife or is it going to be a right-handed knife? Okay, so to explain the difference between a left-handed knife and a right-handed knife, this one, as is drawn here, is actually drawn as a left-handed knife. Okay. So what that means is follows. There's my piece of sausage I want to cut. There's my knife. Okay. So whatever I cut here, okay, look at my hands, my knife. So whatever I want to cut here, so it's piece of salami, I want the cut on the piece of salami to be straight. The piece that I'm cutting off should fall to that side. So if I'm holding my knife in my right hand, the flat of the chisel should be on this side and the bevel should sit on that side. Yeah? That makes sense. Now the knife I drew here is left-handed because if I pick this up, you'll notice that the bevel goes this way and the flat is that way. Why is that? Well, I always draw my knives pointing left. But in the knife I'm actually making this one as a left-hander. Why? Because my little one, Arnu, decided this knife is his. And he's a lefty. So we're making him a left-handed little neck knife. Alright, let's get cracking then. I hope you're paying attention, class. So what we're going to be doing now is, let me just get my ruler, is we are going to be, and let me just move this onto the edge of my bench, we are going to be removing the stock from that line there, that's a flat angle, at an angle from that line there to that line down there, so the edge of this. So from this edge to that line there, we are going to be grinding or filing the stuff away. Alright, so therefore forming that single beveled edge. Alright, how's that accomplished? That is accomplished using these. Okay, so we've got a standard flat hand file, that's a rough cut. We have got a round file, also in a rough cut. We have got my favorite, which is a chainsaw file, and then a half round. Okay, so we'll be using a selection of these to get that job done. First thing I'm going to be doing is to actually start filing in this little groove here. Focus, focus. So in this little groove here, I'm going to follow that cut line up to there. So my plunge cut, I'm going to set that, or the run out. I'm going to set that. Okay, so let me get cracking. Okay, so what I've done now is, you can see I've clamped it in a bench vise. Why don't I have this thing clamped flat? It's because of the odd shape of the handle. Every time you apply pressure on this side, it'll just swing out of the vise. So I've got it nicked over the edge, and you can see it's still loose. Okay, but with the downward force of the actual filing, this will be kept in place. So I'm going to be starting and filing to this side of the line. What I mean with that is that I'm not going to start in the circle, I'm going to start on the edge. So the edge of my file is going to follow the line. This will make a bit more sense as soon as I start. So let me get cracking. Okay, so I've started the file, and you'll notice where I'm actually filing. I'm filing quite a bit away from that actual scribe line. Okay, so to put the file next to it, or in the groove I've started, and now if I side down the file, you'll see that the edge of the file is actually in line with the scribe line. And that's what we're wanting. So what you notice now, as soon as I start cutting deeper into my material, you'll notice it's starting to line up with that little cut line, or the scribe line. Yeah, I'm about almost halfway through. Bit more than halfway up, so let me continue filing. Okay, so I had a student just chase me off the bench I was at. So I'm back in my big bench. Lighting is actually a bit better down here. So basically what I'm going to be doing is continue filing. You'll also notice I've repositioned it because these jaws are a bit broader, and I don't want to damage down there. But anyway, fit it as best you can, and we'll continue filing. So I'm done filing the plunge cut. Alright, let me just get this zoomed in there. Okay, so I've taken it out of the vise so you can see. And what we have is we've got file marks running from the top right through to the bottom without any of that rounded motion. So that area there is perfectly flat. Okay. Edge thickness at this point, this is obviously pre-heat treat. Now I can just grab the knife. You'll notice that it is really, really, really thin. I've left that. If I had to take a guess at it in millimeters, that's maybe a half a millimeter thick. Okay. Now, if you're concerned about warpage in the heat treatment for this blade, spine of 6 millimeters thick, even if you grind it down to half a mil, it ain't going to be warping. Alright, well, not if you follow the instructions, that is. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a flat file, and I'm going to be filing that section there. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone with my standard little rough cut file, and I started doing the edge, then decided to rather go to one of my big files. Okay, and this is an extremely rough file. Okay. So like I mentioned, I started filing with that file there, and then decided to go to an even rougher file, which just speeds it up. The only thing you now need to take care of, or keep in mind, of that this thing is doing a kind of a serration on the edge, and you obviously need to get rid of that. Okay, so while you're grinding, the tip is obviously 6 mil thick as well, so while you're filing away, you're going to be filing away over that line there. Yeah, just keep in mind that you don't want to be filing more or further than that point there, yeah, where those two lines cross. You don't want to be filing above this for obvious reasons. Okay, I'll show you what you do. We're going to be rescribing that line as soon as we do this little top bevel, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so this is about 30 minutes later. Well, this on a belt grinder would have taken me 5 minutes if that. Okay, so what we've done is very close up to my edge, or to my scribe line, and I can still see the scribe line. Okay, there you can still see the scribe line, and there I'm actually on the actual scribe line. Now you'll notice what I've done was first flat, and then I started curving this. So I just started curving that part there. From this side you can actually see it. I just started curving that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is not work on here. I'm just going to work with my round file just to blend that in. Yeah, so let's get cracking. and now you'll notice that those runouts are looking much better. I've also changed my angle of attack. So I was filing in that direction and then straight up, and with a finer grid file now I am filing this way with the half round. As you get into that corner, you'll see down here I still need to do a section, alright, and then need to get rid of those, but for now I want to focus on the tip. Okay, so this is what the tip looks like at the moment, and you'll notice this whole rounded thing I've got here. So there's obviously material I need to move down here, because that needs to be straight, yeah, straight like so. And then that straight edge there gets blended into that flat edge over there, over that curve. So let's get cracking. Okay, so as we're tugging along, you'll notice, okay, so I've got that, come on, focus. So that is almost flat. It still has a little of a curvature in there. But as I'm working this chip, you'll notice this little secondary bevel forming. Now if that's your thing, if you like that, then obviously keep that. Yeah? All part and parcel of what we're doing. Every single one of these, although the profile, the overall shape of the blade is the same, your bevels, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so what I've done is I've now established my cutting edge. So the edge thickness of the edge from the spine, or from the, not the spine, from the heel of the knife, that's a little back part, right to the cutting edge or the tip, is exactly the same thickness. Yeah, so now I'm going to be working that section there back to that little cross line there. That's going to take a while, so let me get cracking. Okay, so I've now cleared off that top. I'm there, so all I need to do is now move this bevel down towards the tip. But you can see a little tri-bevel thing happening here. Yeah, and I do like that, but not for this knife, but definitely for a future little project. So as you can see, that bevel has now been flattened out. I've got a nice little taper going down to my tip, and I've still got this little thingy happening, which is an indicator, of course, that that is not flat, but it's actually concave. Alright, so you can feel the half round. Once again, if that's your thing and you like that, then stop right there. But what I'm now going to be doing is I'm going to start on this little bevel at the top. Yeah? And the only thing I want to do is I want to go halfway down the spine of my blade. I'm not going to mark that. Around about halfway down the spine of my blade, and then set that little bevel in there. Okay, so let me get cracking. Once again, I'm going to be using a a round file on that little corner, and then a flat file to finish it off. Okay, so that has been done. I'm halfway up or down in my spine. Yeah, so all I'm going to do is straight line from there to the tip, which is obviously give me a little taper towards the tip, and then obviously not exceeding that line there. That line meets, so that one there meets there, and then a straight line down. So go ahead and scribe that if you want to. I'm just going to be filing. Okay, so what you can see now is the more I've worked that bevel there, started on this bevel here, the flatter I'm making this surface, the straighter this line becomes. But I'm quite happy or liking what's happening over here, so I'm going to bring this edge down a bit more, which will then make it line up there, and maybe we'll get a little line going there, so a flat edge and then a flat edge. And I'm quite liking what's happening on this side. So as I'm flattening out the tip to blend it in, I'm getting this little bevel happening there. Yeah, so I'd like to get that as straight as possible, but we'll see. Maybe I just blend it in as was the original intention. So we'll see, but I quite like this little line that's forming at the top here, and I might just keep that. Okay, so I've got it completely repositioned here, and I'm quite happy with that top bevel, although you can see it's not parallel to the edge. Still got a bit of work to do there. And then that nice taper we've got from that secondary bevel, which is this one here. Right, so I'll square that up. But what I also want to mention is these holes we drilled up here. You'll see I cleaned out the first one and the second one. I'm talking about just these top sections here. So get rid of the burr. You can now go in, and if you want to make them all the same width, you can. I don't think I will, but you're more than welcome to. So just clean them up. Okay, so after consulting with the client, in other words my son, he was just here, he doesn't like that line, so we're back to the original design, and that will now just get curved out. So let's get cracking. Okay, so that was it. I'm done. That edge is blended in, and if I do that, you can see the light running along the edge. You can actually see, so there's no more high spots in it. It's nice, one flat surface. Run out, well, the punch cut's been done. If I turn it on its edge, you'll notice that nice and smooth curvature we've got there, and then that very cool little bevel we've got at the top. Yeah, 1 and 2. I must admit I did like it with that little line. I honestly did. And if this was a hollow ground, then you would get the sweet little round run out. But okay, that's for another project. Okay, so for this one here, I'm pretty much done for now. So that's the end of this video, and we'll take it from there on the next one. Yeah, have fun, enjoy, remember to share.